Well, talking about David now is not always easy, but a little bit about him in his life was that he was a middle child. So I have 4 kids. My oldest, Jacob, then David, Isabel, and JP. Jacob and David were 18 months apart, so they were very close, thick as thieves. David was my STEM kid. He was my math and science kid. He was my computer coder. He was also in love with nature. He could handle bugs when I couldn't. I remember one time buying a butterfly kit and freaking out when the cocoon started shaking, and I immediately called for David's assistance. He liked weird things. He liked to eat strange things. At the age of 2, I remember he licked a tire. He was just always willing to experiment, willing to have a new experience, very adventurous, loved the woods, loved trees, and he brought a lot of joy and laughter to our family. Favorite thing about David, there's a lot of favorite things. I would probably say how different he was from the rest of everybody. Now, of course, each child is automatically different. Every human being is different, and every one of us is unique. But David was the introvert of the family. He had it wasn't a dry sense of humor, but a very sarcastic sense of humor that he would only express around his family. And that made it all the more funny, made it all the more hilarious, because it wasn't something that the world got to see. It was only a side of him that we got to see. I also loved his sense of adventure, just willing to try new things that I would never try, things that I would never eat, he would eat. But there was so much that I could say that would probably be my favorite things to be able to celebrate about him, but those would be a few. So I wrote the book, If He Doesn't. This is the book I wrote. And more than it being about loss, it's really about the conflict that I had with my faith after losing David. I was raised in church and taught to believe that prayer would change anything. And that, God would work miracles if you, only believe, if you had a certain level of faith, if you followed a certain protocol. And I certainly thought I had followed all of those protocols pretty much all of my life, and even more so as I became an adult. But it was a huge disappointment and a huge disillusionment when, after we prayed and even recruited people to pray, people were praying that we didn't even know, that we still lost David in the middle of all that. I mean, I had done so much quoting of scripture and declaring and, really working up what I thought was my faith to the point of feeling like, maybe he will pull through this. But there was a certain point when I knew that he wasn't. And so I wrote the book, If He Doesn't, referring to what if God doesn't give you the miracle. I'd been prepared for God giving me the miracle, for, being able to celebrate my son's life. But what happens when you are still left with the situation and the reality that this isn't going to turn around? And so the book is really just an honest perspective. It's just honesty on paper. I'm not trying to give answers to anyone, but I feel like these are things that people in the faith community are embarrassed or ashamed to talk about. And I just wanted to put it on paper and allow other people to see my heart and my thoughts, and maybe somebody can relate and connect with that and feel like, man, somebody else out there feels the same way, and they're not going through their grief or through their disappointment alone.
What do you want your readers to learn from this book?
I don't know if I want readers to learn a lesson in particular, because I didn't write it with that in mind. More than anything, I would hope that they see my process and allow themselves to work their process. And the starting point of that is being honest with yourself, not trying to run from your doubt, not trying to suppress your fear, but being honest with yourself about your fear, about your doubt, about your letdown, and bringing those broken pieces to God, not trying to put them together yourself, or not trying to hide them in shame, because now you're just compounding it. But how do we bring all of these broken pieces and the lack of answers and nothing but questions back to God and say, can you help me put my life back together again? So more than an itemized, here's what to do and how to do it, and I made it out of or through grief, here's how you can do it too. It's really not a how-to book as much as it's a book that just says, I'm in the ditch with you, and again, you're not alone.
What do you want to say to anybody currently grieving?
The first thing is, I'm so sorry for your loss. Grief is life-changing. It's not just the emotion of grief, it's losing someone. When you have somebody in your life that you spent time with, your heart, your mind, your time, your resources has all opened up and expanded for that person. And when you lose them, that expansion, that space that they held doesn't shrink. And I think that's what we're experiencing when we're grieving, is the emptiness that person no longer takes up that space any longer. And so my first thing I would say is, I'm sorry that person is no longer there to fill that space for you. And that I hope that you would find comfort in community, that you would find the support that you need to help carry you through, because truly, when we lose somebody, our lives are never the same. And that is a huge adjustment to make. So please don't go trying to make that adjustment alone. And if you're interested, if you are taking that journey of grief and you're looking for a resource, you can check out my book, If He Doesn't, on Amazon.com. I also have an accompanying journal called If He Doesn't, the Journal. You can purchase both of these on Amazon. One is for you to just read and know that you're not alone. And the other is for you to begin to walk through your own process if your grief has greatly impacted your faith journey. So here they are, and hope they are an encouragement to you.